really appreciate y'all having us. Just a quick shout out, SEDI with Corey with SEDI. We went through that grant process and the loan process with them. We've gone through it twice now. Once when we were very new, very new, and they took a chance on us, and then we paid that loan back. And then as we hit our first expansion, we had another loan that came out, and it really helped us kind of scale from a two-person operation now up to an eight-person operation plus a whole lot of subcontractors. So if you're not familiar with the program, it's a really great program, Dollars to Dreams and SETI. And I don't know if we put the link in the chat, but we will here very soon. And then the Small Business Development Center, we worked with them also when we first started out. I've worked with them through another business, and Gina being a former business owner, huge resource for her to have started a business and exit a business. And so she just knows so much about small business, and it's just a phenomenal resource that we have in Coconino County. So definitely hit them up. And then CCC, big shout out to Kay and Megan for putting this all together and helping out these small business owners that are just looking for a little bit more marketing help. We've attended some of these that help us in other ways. And so we're really pumped to be able to host one that talks about marketing. So I think we're ready to go.
Everybody see the screen there? See your presentation?
Yes.
Looking good.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, well, we are going to give you a quick background on today. Our team is located in Flagstaff, Arizona. We mostly focus on holistic services. So although we build websites and we do a lot of brand kits, logos for folks, we mostly have monthly recurring clients, retainer-based clients that we work with. Everybody in town from, NAU and their athletics program to Homeco around the corner to, I see Eric from Remax in the class today. So a whole lot of small businesses, but we focus on giving them a holistic perspective on marketing campaigns, and that's what we're going to do today. Is a little bit of website development, a little bit of graphic design, a little bit of social media, photo, video, PR. Everything that you need to make a great holistic approach to marketing, and then ways to be able to measure your campaign. So we'll run through that pretty quick. But if you have any questions on things outside of our scope, we'll be able to get you in touch with the right people. Here's a little bit of everything that we do. Here are some of the clients that we've been really fortunate enough to work with over the years. We've got about 40 or 50 clients right now, but over the years we're almost up to 400. So we've been very fortunate with Northern Arizona and them putting faith in a new business. We don't really need to look at these two for very long. But yeah, Austin and I will be here. Austin's background is going to be a lot more focused on website development and graphic design. He is a phenomenal photographer. If you need any tips on river guiding, he can help you out too, snowboarding. But he's much more technical, where I am more on the strategic side, social media, promotions, things like that. So this kind of sums up what we try and do when it comes to marketing when folks come to us. So we got your questions when we got the list of who was attending today. And a lot of the questions are very similar to the questions we get when people first reach out to us, where they're focused on, how can I get my social media going? How can I get the word out? Can you give me some good tips on, tips and tricks on how to be a better marketer? And what we want to focus on is the strategic approach to that, so that we're not necessarily focused on social media. We're not necessarily focused on your website. We're not necessarily focused on your marketing in general, but what we're focused on is one campaign at a time. And if we can give you a really great formula on how to build one campaign, then you can build a million campaigns and you can adjust them in a million ways, and that's going to be really fun. But we're going to try and distill down marketing into a very specific 7 steps. And then from there, you'll be able to learn, okay, here are the steps that I need to take to be able to accomplish what my goal is. And then moving forward, this is how I can apply it to other aspects of my business. So yeah, we're going to go through some marketing pain points and some trends so that you can see some of the fun stuff going on. But then we're going to dig into the 7 steps to campaign building. Hopefully everyone has the workbook that was sent out before. We're going to be working through the workbook to be able to fill out what you need. If you don't have that workbook, then if you've got a pen and paper, if you've got a laptop, you'll be able to take notes along the way.
Rand, I'll add in a note in the chat, an email address if anybody didn't receive the workbook, where they can email to get that. So I'll get that taken care of.
Perfect, thank you.
Sorry, there we go. All right.
Okay, so this is a funny gift that we like to start with. She is very, very lucky. But basically, when people come to us and they start asking about marketing, we try and find out the fundamentals first. What is your marketing budget? What do you hope to get a return on the investment for marketing? A lot of people call it a marketing spend or a marketing cost. If you can shift that mindset into a marketing investment, you're much more likely to try and figure out, okay, with that investment, what will my returns look like? And so really focusing on that as a foundational question is important. And we'll cover that here in a little bit. Okay, marketing overload. I'm sure that most of you have experienced this. There's so many platforms, there's so many different agencies like us that are probably emailing you all the time. There are different strategic partners. There's a million channels that you can use. And, obviously you probably have more than one customer that looks different than another customer, and you have more than one special or more than one service that you offer. And so when you start looking at all of it all at once, it is extremely overwhelming. And so what we're going to do today is really focus on one product or service, one specific goal, one specific customer, one specific channel, one specific way to be able to track the success of that campaign, so that you can hopefully have a little less headaches when it comes to marketing, and you can stay focused on one campaign at a time. And the other thing is getting rid of old habits. We all are very open and inclusive when it comes to our business. And so, it's one thing to say, my customer is everyone. And it's another thing to say, who I'm marketing to is this very specific person, and this is what we're going to do. And so we feel like the status quo is typically to just jump in. And again, going back to the axe analogy, we really want to focus on strategy before we get too far into what are the best Facebook tips, or what is the coolest way to build a website, those types of things. It is Taco Tuesday. I didn't realize that gift was very appropriate.
Relevant.
Did we skip one?
Yep, too far. There we go.
Perfect. So 3 real quick things as far as marketing trends go. Content is everything. For you to be found on the internet, for you to be engaging on social media, and or for you to be able to get to your customers in very unique new ways. You've got to be able to create content, and that content isn't necessarily always talking about you or your business. It isn't always necessarily talking about the cool things in the world, but it's a combination of all those things that are curated into exactly what your customer wants to hear and wants to speak about and wants to share on. So blog articles are a really important thing nowadays. Hopefully we typically tell people you should be writing a minimum of 1 to 3 blogs a month for your website, and then using that content to be able to create snippets for social media, and then also being able to use that for your SEO. Video content, obviously a tremendous amount of people are shifting the way they consume media, and video is everything. So trying to link up with a great videographer if you have the budget, or you've probably seen some extremely successful videos that are just shot on an iPhone. Infographics, people they don't just come to be entertained to your website and your social, they also come to learn. And so infographics are a really great way to capture their attention without overwhelming them with words. Personalized emails, we've had a few of these webinars talking to business owners on how they can adjust their approach post-COVID. And we keep telling them to treat their customers like their neighbors. So, when you're speaking to them in email, you're speaking to them on social, treat them like they are your neighbors. And then more importantly, or just as important, treating your employees like your family. And then letting folks know that that is your approach and that's how you're running your business. So yeah, personalizing things is extremely important and very relevant in your communication and messaging right now. Engaging in relevant content. Always, I'm sure that, most of you are entrepreneurs and you probably have some really crazy ideas. Coming up with those types of ideas to be as engaging and keeping as relevant as possible is extremely important. And then, we threw magazine articles in there, but really the focus on that is public relations. So, this is a perfect time to stop selling things and really jump on board and support your community. And by supporting your community, you make new contacts. You show people, who you really are in tough times, and then that reflects really well on your business. So public relations is extremely important. Trying to get stuff in the newspaper and the magazines, but right now, the best way to do that is through goodwill. Awesome. AI is extremely important. This is, if you want to know exactly what's trending, this is it. But whether or not you have the ability to jump on this right now depends on your skill level and your budget. But we think it's a really important thing to keep in the back of your mind. People used to search on their computers, then they started to search on their phones, and now they're starting to search with their Alexas. And so, these types of things are changing pretty quickly as far as how people consume their media. And then also the amount of software that's out there that does our job, what we typically do and our analysts do for, $19 a month is pretty tremendous. So if you're really getting bogged down with being able to track analytics or being, bogged down with trying to post on multiple platforms, there's most likely a software that's been created that you can get a monthly subscription to that'll really help you, number one, figure out what's going on and really make your time efficient, but number two, start to learn. And that's the best part about AI is that, you're going to gather all of this data, you're going to look at it, but then you're going to be able to predict the future, you're going to be able to forecast budgets, you're going to be able to really understand what you're doing, and it's going to be much easier. So a little bit of AI, a little bit of automation. Google's your best friend in this situation. But if you find yourself getting bogged down in anything that we're going to teach you today, and you're starting to run into a wall or spend too much time, there's probably a software out there. So either reach out to us and we'll share some tips, or Google will give you a big long list of them, I'm sure. Awesome. So video, again, I think we touched on this a little bit before, but is just huge. It's everything. And so as you're trying to come up with content that you've used in the past, video is extremely important to consider. The few things that we usually tell folks when it comes to video is it's one thing to have an informative video. This is who I am, this is what I sell. It's another thing to look at the pain points that your customers are having. So, if you're a realtor, it's great for you to say, my name's Eric, I'm a great realtor, here are some houses, that you should buy. And it's another thing to go on there and let people know this is a new certification I've gotten and this is why this certification is important. Or, you know, if you're a first-time home buyer, here's 10 things to consider about jumping into the real estate market and to figure things out. Little things that people need that are extremely important to them, and then translating that into a really compelling video so that they're not just trying to read a 1,200 word blog from you, that they can just watch a 60-second video and get the different text over the top of that video and learn from you in that way. So there's a lot of different cool ways to do video, but video is a huge priority. And we always tell people, I think the best book that's ever been written on marketing is from Seth Godin. That quote you see over there in the corner is really important, or is really influential to us. So yeah, if you want to know a little bit more about the theory behind marketing and how, you know, you can approach marketing, not just from a logistical standpoint that we're going to teach you today, but from how to really connect to your customer, really connect to who you are, and really connect to your employees, you know, check out Seth Godin. He's on Audible and he's got some really great books out there. Okay, so we're going to run a poll question just to kind of get a test on who it is that has run a marketing campaign and who hasn't. Looks like we can see a lot of the participants out there. I'm sure that Brian has run one. Callie, for sure. Carrie, we've run some with you guys. Judy runs them all the time. Rebecca, good to see you. Sarah, I'm sure you're running them for the photo symposium. Sheila, good to see you. Wow, we've got some amazing people in here. Austin, one thing, I don't know if the results all come out at once, or is this timed?
It is timed. I'm just going to give it a couple more seconds. It looks like, man, we're at 26 of 29. So I think I'm going to hit the end polling button. And we'll go ahead and share that so everybody can see the results.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it looks like a tremendous amount of people have. Some people have not, which is great. I think that this is a good way for you to look at prior marketing campaigns that you've run, or I should say this program today is a good way to look at prior campaigns that you've run. And also, if you've never run a campaign before, this is the perfect place to start. Okay, and just a heads up, we'll have a few of those polls that'll come up so that we can get a little bit of chat going back and forth on everybody's comfort level. And then we'll also have some pauses between the steps to make sure that you were able to identify whatever it was that the step begged of you, and whether or not you have a question for us to be able to move on. We're hoping at the end of this particular program, which typically is an 8-hour program, then we kind of boiled it down to 4, and then we've gotten this now into 90 minutes. So we're going to throw a whole lot at you, but hopefully at the end of this, you'll have a pretty good idea of how to start, run, operate, and measure your first or a marketing campaign. Okay, so this is a good chat question. What is the goal of your marketing?
So this question, the answers will just go into the chat function instead of the poll, because we'd love to hear some of the specific things about you and your business. You know, what if you could, you know, have any goal for your marketing, what would it be? Is it more sales? Is it more awareness? What would that goal be if you could be anything?
And do make sure that when you type it into the box that you have it directed to all panelists and attendees, so then that way other attendees can see what you've typed into the chat box.
As we're waiting for some of those answers, I'm going to get out of full screen here. I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm going to see if I can figure something out here.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like we've got some friends from up in Page. Judy, good to see you. But we've also got some folks from the community, from Navajo, from Ken's Tours. Amazing tour. Yeah, all sorts of amazing people. Hotel Monte Vista, Mountain Sports, FBO, Copper State, High Mountain Health, shout out. So yeah, we got a lot of your questions, your course questions. So we appreciate those. Awesome. Gina, buyers, increasing donors, event attendance, getting my product name out there. That's a big deal, Sandy. Increased ticket sales. I love it. Gaining direct clients. That's a really empowering thing when you get to that level in business. Spreading the word that there's great espresso out there. Awesome. Okay, well, let's drill down and get that that goal identified, at least for today's exercise, to one specific thing.
Yeah.
Did you figure that out?
Yes, I have the chat up now. I couldn't figure out how to see the chat functions and stuff earlier, but because I was sharing my screen, but I've got it now, so I think we're all good. So yeah, the first step of the marketing plan is identifying the goal. So just as we just started out, you know, it starts as a brainstorm about figuring out why in the world you're marketing. You know, why are you doing business? Why does somebody want to purchase your service or product? And what does your dream client look like? What is that one person who comes into your store? You know, is it the regular who comes in once a day to get his cup of coffee? Is it, you know, a real estate client who's once every 10 years? What does that ideal client look like? And then we start to try and figure out how we get more of them. And so everybody started putting great goals in there, but what's missing is a few details within those goals that we really try to focus on. And the acronym that we use is SMART goals. And what that acronym stands for is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So it's specific in that, you know, if our goal is to increase brand awareness or to drive leads, it is for one specific thing. So we're going to drive leads for new buyers or new sellers, or you know, try to attract new customers in the door or new donations, whatever it is, but it's a very specific goal. And then it's measurable. So we're going to have a baseline. If we have, you know, our donations are $10,000 this month, our goal is going to be $15,000 next month, and we can measure it against a baseline and see how far we're going and if we're having success. Is it attainable? If you have if you did $10,000 in donations this month and now your goal for next month is $100,000, that's probably not attainable. We want to start with reachable goals so we can have success and then grow from there and stretch those goals as we find success. Is it realistic? Is it something, you know, is it a service that you offer? Is this something that you guys have thought about before? Is it possible to get done in the time frame that you have set? You might be able to get $100,000 donations, but those other, you know, with the time frame you've set, it's not possible. And then the time bound, obviously we put that deadline on it. So if it's a monthly goal, an annual goal, whatever it is, but then we'll put those benchmarks and check it on a monthly basis as well. So with your marketing campaign, you can have multiple goals. You know, if we want to increase leads for our business for sales, we're going to naturally increase our brand awareness as we, you know, do marketing and get our name out there more and more. However, we want to make sure that we have one main goal and one main message within all of our advertising that is unified so that the message is clear. We're not trying to ask people to like our Facebook page and our Instagram page and fill out this form and buy this $10 product. We want to have a very clear message within that campaign so our consumers know what we want them to do. We want to make it really easy for them. The average person sees thousands and thousands of ads a day, and we need to make sure that ours stands out. And then finally, we have to make sure that we can track it. And so depending on what that goal is, there's a whole bunch of tools that we'll really dig into a little bit more and show you more through our different reporting and different things like that. But the digital analytics through Google Analytics, like for your website, social media analytics, call tracking is one of the most interesting and up and coming ones. You can do voice recording for all of your phone calls, listen to all of them, see how your customer service reps are answering the phone, see how your sales team is doing, seeing if they're staying on brand and on message. There are a lot of really great opportunities there. So on the right here, we have some poorly defined goals, just increasing brand awareness, driving online sales. All of those goals are missing a few of the elements from the SMART acronym. And so, each of those are good in theory, but we need to add a little bit more to them so that they're complete and SMART and attainable goals. So then we have a few examples. One of them from Remax Elite team here, who's on the call here with us today, I believe. Their goal is to obtain 20 buyer-seller phone call leads each month. And that's their goal for their team to achieve, and our marketing to reach that goal. And so this here, this key performance indicator report on the right is the report that we send. This is the front page of the report that we send to our clients every month. And first time calls is the first one right there on the list. As you can see, this report is right in the middle of the COVID, and calls are a little down right now. It's been a little tough, but we've taken advantage of some opportunity of people doing research and looking for more information online. And we've been able to really increase our Google ranking right now pretty dramatically with some of the very timely and relevant content that we've been able to create, despite not as many people being interested in buying big homes right now. And then our second example here is in the retail industry. We have a couple examples here. These are based on revenue goals. We're trying to increase the number of units sold in main departments, as well as increase the number of daily tickets overall. So increasing number of people in the door, selling more product each day. And Homeco is a great partner of ours where we see their sales numbers every day. They send them to us where we can see exactly what we're doing and how we're affecting their goals with our marketing efforts every day. So you got anything you want to add on that, Rand?
No, I think that was great. Actually, yes. So the call tracking, I think, is really important for if any of you are trying to get people to call you, it's important to know where they're coming from. And so that's a really important software to install if you have the ability. And then also just a shout out, Eric, we appreciate the chat there. But they have the Realty group. I think there's 7 of them now, and they're creating a tremendous amount of blogs that are relevant. And then we're able to push them into the channels and push them out into the world and SEO them for the website. And so it's not necessarily always the fact that you've got that you're working with an agency and they're going to take care of everything. There's a lot of ways to be able to bootstrap marketing if you've got a really great plan. So these are some examples. Now we'd like to turn it back to you. If you guys do have your workbooks up, trying to identify that product or service. So if it is a donation, that's one thing. If you're trying to sell tickets or espressos or homes, I think that there was a retail shop in there. Melody, I'm sorry that you've got a brick and mortar right now. That's got to be really difficult. But pick out a product or a very specific service that you offer. If you are a realtor, let's figure out, I want to sell instead of just buy and sell. I want to sell homes, that are 500,000 and more. Let's get really specific with this goal, and we'll give you guys a few minutes to be able to figure that out. And Austin, if you can go back to the SMART, when you're working through your process here, just try and measure it off of, or try and base it off of these this acronym here. And if anyone has any questions, or you're still trying to figure that out, or you're filling out your workbook, throw them into the chat. Is that correct? Or is it the chat?
Either way, if it's a specific question, the Q&A section works great because we can answer that question directly. Other people can see it. If it is more of a chat question, something, it can go either way, but feel free to throw questions in there. We'll keep an eye on it either way and get answers to you guys here as quick as we can. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, we see some consulting and Well, we've got a few consultants. Accounting, Luann. So yeah, very specific product or service. How many do you want to sell? Awesome. So that should be about good. Hopefully everyone's got their goal set up and and now we can start to apply that.
Guess we can check in with everybody, see if anybody really needs some more time, but we're probably pretty good.
Yeah, I forgot we put that in. This is perfect. This is a great check-in.
A real quick question here.
And if you've got more than one goal, this is the perfect time to throw that in that notes section of the workbook. But if you could just circle one, that's what we'll roll with now. And then keep in mind, you'll go through this process over and over again, 7 steps, but with different goals each time.
All right.
Okay. One unsure. Everyone who took the quiz has got a goal. So we're ready to move on.
And if you're unsure, feel free to ask questions in there too. But here we go. Excuse me.
Okay, Rebecca, that's a good one. Sell paintings through the website. Love your paintings. Love your website. But how many paintings and how often? I think would be a really good place to try and drill down for that goal. Okay, so choosing your team and identifying your assets. So now that you've got your goal, we need to figure out what it is that you've got as far as assets go, so that we know where that goal or what the best marketing approach is going to be. So look at your resources. If you've got employees, do any of those employees have marketing skills? Or do any of them have the capacity to be able to handle a marketing campaign? Sometimes it's, these campaigns can start off with a concept of a single social media post, and the next thing you know, you're spending 8 hours a week on them. And so identifying employees or support group is really important. Agencies, we build strategies for clients that have internal marketing teams or marketing directors. So, going to an agency and trying to figure out what a full marketing strategy would look like, which would identify your branding and everything that we're about to go through. Family and friends. If you've got some family and friends, be very careful as to how you interact with them in the world of business, but also, they might be a really great resource for, number one, for them to build a website or to make some social posts or do a photo shoot for you, but also for them to be able to get the word out. They love you, they probably love what you do. And so they're great people to be able to lean on to kind of get a little momentum for a campaign. Existing network of customers. A lot of our clients right now, we're not focused on getting them new customers. We're just trying to keep their relationships with their existing customers as strong as possible. So, your existing network of customers, oftentimes people will look over them to new customers. And you know how expensive it is to try and get a new customer versus just trying to really engage and make your existing customers as happy as possible, upsell, those types of things. And then your finances and your budget. I'm sure that most of you have a marketing plan or a business plan. And if you don't, call Gina. She'll help you build one. But within that business plan, you probably have a budget that talks about marketing. And so identifying that budget as early as possible. Austin has a really stat up there, a really great stat, 3 to 12% of your annual should be going towards marketing. That really depends on which industry you're in. Some industries, if you're selling direct to consumer through Amazon, fulfilled by Amazon, you might be spending 40 or 50% of your budget on marketing versus, you might have a really great way to attend 2 conferences or 2 events a year and set up a table and get all of your customers, by only spending 1 or 2% of your budget. per year. So, there's big extremes there, but making sure that you set a budget and you stick to it as early as possible, and keep in mind that it is an investment, not a cost. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Please let us know if you've got any questions there. And then inventory of marketing assets. So people often have the question of, should I get a Twitter profile? I don't have much, I'm not really familiar with Instagram. I don't have a lot of pictures, or, whatever that may be. It's important just to look at the marketing assets that you have that you're able to put time and energy into. So if you are not good at Instagram and you don't really have the time to be able to invest in it, then maybe just focus on Facebook for a little while and, get good at that and then move on to Instagram. We always tell people you'd rather not have a profile than have a profile that's unattended. Extremely important. Business directory listings, if you're part of the chamber or Local First Arizona or, a national industry group, it's important to have keep those directory listings up and relevant. But then also there are a whole lot of other directory listings that are probably really important for you to make sure that you're on: Yelp, yp.com, those types of things. Traditional marketing. If you have a really great way to have a cheap newspaper ad, or somebody that has a billboard on their land that you can get for a couple $100 a month, or whatever, or television commercials or things like that, pamphlets, flyers, all sorts of things. Traditional marketing, a lot of people just look at digital nowadays, and so traditional has a whole lot of opportunity in it. Digital advertising is pretty much runs the gamut of everything that we do. A brand kit we'll get into here in a little bit, and that's basically your logo, your colors, your fonts, typography, everything that represents your business, making sure that you've got that as a marketing asset. It's extremely important for brand consistency, making sure that you have very similar or the same 1 to 3 fonts on your website as you do that you've got in a newspaper ad, as you do that you've got for a blog that you've written. Really important to have your colors, your logo, and those consistent fonts. An email list. It's amazing. We had a client come to us, and about 3 months in, we asked them about their email list. When we first started with them, about 3 months in, they're like, you know what? We also have 8,000 emails that we used to use over here. And it was amazing how much engagement we could get out of those emails. So number one, building an email list. If you don't have email capture on your website, it's almost mandatory for every industry that we work with, but getting those emails in is extremely important. Website nowadays, online billboard. I can't think of very many businesses that don't need one. There are really inexpensive ones that you can get through Wix or Squarespace nowadays, where you can get in on a monthly subscription and they have really great themes. And then, you can hire an agency to build a website if you've got a more complex vision for your business. And then domain names. Some people, if you're a realtor in town, it's probably a little bit too late, but, flagstaffrealestate.com is probably a popular domain name, but then real estate or Flagstaff Real Estate, Flagstaff Homes, all of those different types of things in your, whatever is particular to your industry, could be really important depending on how your SEO strategy looks. But that's another cool thing. Sometimes clients come to us and they've got 25 domain names all within an industry, and we point them all to that one website, and it's beneficial for them. So the workbook has some areas for you to be able to kind of fill in the gaps there of what you've got or what you need. And if you don't exactly know who you're going to need for your campaign yet, because we're still pretty early on in the process, we can circle back to this, and we're going to identify the team a little bit later as well. Okay, so the Trello board is a really great way to be able to number one, get user-generated content. So I believe this is an Ace Hardware in Bozeman that we work with. And, there's only so much content that you can make, but if you have a team, if you have employees, it's really cool to be able to get content from them. And this is a really cool way to do that. Trello.com, I believe, or Trello is a cool platform where if your employees are running around doing something, they can take a picture, throw it in here, and then you can go in there and source it for social media content or website content or blog content in the future. It's and then the secondary benefit from that is that your employees are now really engaged. They're bought into your marketing, and they're also bought into what it is that you do. So that's a really cool board. Austin, do you want to talk about?
I just had one quick thing on that too. I mean, Trello, like this is great for Owen House Ace because they have a big team, and this allows them really to collaborate and stay up to date with everything that's going on. But even for smaller scale, a private Facebook group for your employees is a great free tool that you can create to allow collaboration within your team to get that free user generated content. Again, it's taking advantage of the resources that you have available to you and trying to find the best content that you can create without having to work too hard. So using those resources is great.
Awesome. So yeah, again, think about your goal, that very specific goal. Think about the team that you're going to need to achieve that goal. Okay. So here's some really rough ideas for you to be able to take a peek at. I think, some of the tour companies are going to have a slightly larger budget, and some of the solopreneur artists and or nonprofits might have a slightly smaller budget. But this is a good reference point to be able to try and figure out, whether or not you're hiring an agency and you've got some people in-house, if you're just hiring an agency, or if you're just going to do all of this yourself. There's plenty of courses out there for you to be able to get kind of the ground level for every marketing channel there is. It's important to get that team identified and then get the budget and the cost, so that when you're trying to figure out your ROI, remember this marketing is an investment, that you're able to factor in everything. And this does include your time. So if you are the social media manager and you are the graphic designer and you are the photographer, figure out your hours, give yourself an hourly rate, and throw that into this budget, because that's really important to be able to track your ROI for that in the future. If it takes you 40 hours in a month to get a marketing campaign together, but you only spent $200 and you get $500 back, then the return might not be there unless you factor yourself and your time in. Very, very important. So yeah, you should be able to get your team together, get the hard cost of your advertisements. So if you're running a Facebook ad or a radio ad or something like that, you can put that under the advertisement section. Get that total amount of money, and then you can calculate your ROI based off of hopefully what the revenue difference is between pre-existing revenue and new revenue based off of your marketing efforts. And if you have any questions about ROI, I think I put the formula into the, yes, it's on page 3 of the workbook. Awesome. So I think we're good there. Does anyone have any questions as far as team or budget?
Definitely a little bit more balance in the responses on this poll.
Yeah, like we said earlier, the 8-hour course versus the 90-minute.
And the questions get more challenging.
We're trying not to move too quick, but at the same time, give everybody as much information as possible. So yeah, I think that, identifying team and assets, you can go back and try and figure that out, and then the budget itself. Is anyone unsure as far as how to calculate that? As far as the no's go, do you have any specific questions that we can help with, or are those just, no, I don't have it identified because it's a little too complex at this point? Sandy, so it's the calculation itself. Okay. So if you have, oh yeah, or if you've got a new business, that's an excellent point. Let's see. So Sandy, you've got Copper State Telecommunications. You've got a lot more resources than some other folks. So basically, if you're trying to, say you were trying to get 20 new corporate clients at, I don't know what it would be, $1,000 a month. And so that would be, $20,000 in projected new revenue versus, what your pre-existing revenue is. And the difference between those two things will give you your ROI. As far as the agency cost goes and your ad costs, that's going to be a little bit difficult to do within 5 or 10 minutes. Typically that would take 8, 10, 12 hours to figure out. But yeah, okay, internet and TV. So if you want 200 new internet subscribers at $20 a month, then you can figure out that you're hoping to get an increase of $4,000 in revenue. And then you can kind of work backwards from there and say, okay, well, I need this number of advertisement dollars and this team to be able to create that. And this is my predicted ROI. We're going to get into channels here in a little bit. And so that'll help you to hopefully identify this. But if you have a pretty good idea of your goals there, we can circle back to that calculation.
Yeah. And there are definitely different data pieces you can look at. You can look at return on investment or customer acquisition cost, or cost per conversion, depending on what that goal is. The return on investment is a great number for your overall budget, and trying to figure that out. And then, there's some of those other numbers that we look at on a little bit more specifically as far as the goal is concerned. But yeah, like Rand said, we'll definitely get into that as we go further into these steps here. So let's jump into number 3 here.
Awesome. So if you've identified your assets, you've got, a website, a social media page, and maybe some newspaper ads going, then you can start to look at those things and figure out what best practices are. And a good way to do those, we've put some measurement tools at the bottom of this slide. And so yeah, a good way to try and figure out whether or not your SEO is working, or search engine optimization. People are able to find you on the internet, and Google likes you enough to be able to put you on the home page for whatever it is that you offer. SEO, SE Optimer is a really good one for that. And here is an example of HomeCo. Okay. So yeah, if you go to this website, you enter in your URL and it'll give you a pretty good understanding of your SEO, and it'll test it from those 5 different views, and then it'll let you know where you need to improve. And the cool part about this particular website is that when you hover over certain sections where you're like, I don't even know what an alt attribute is, they'll be able to give you some very specific things in there to identify. And then depending on what it is that you have to fix, this is a really great tool either to communicate to your web developer and say, hey, here are the 20 things that I want fixed because I'd like my website to be faster, or to be more engaging, or to be, whatever, or to be found easier for these keywords. This is a good tool to be able to identify those things. And this is getting a little bit in the weeds, but at the same time, we feel like it's a great tool for small business owners to master, because SEO is extremely important for your business.
And it's really important as you're, in step 2, as you're reviewing all of your assets. And then this point, we're really looking to button up and make sure that everything is up to date and that you have those, foundations built. So when you're reviewing all your assets, to run them through SEO Optimer, Website Grader, GT Metrics, some of these other ones we'll show you in a second, and figure out those baselines of where you're at with your assets and what you need to improve. Because before you start throwing money into marketing, you want to make sure that your digital presence, your foundation, and everything is built solid so that when you drive traffic to your website, they don't find incorrect information or misleading information, or they go to, click on an ad for a special and land somewhere completely different. You want to make sure that all those pieces are together to get the most effective return on your investment from your marketing. So it's really important to do these things. Like Grant said, if you can do it yourself, that's great. If you have a web developer, send it to them. However you can do it, but it's great to look at all your social media for brand standards, your website, all those business listings, all those different pieces, and make sure all those things are up to date.
Okay. Thanks, Austin, for that. I think that's really important to focus on. Usually when we do buttoning up, we call it cleaning up the house before you invite folks over. And so the brand consistency is really important. We'll dig into all of these things over the next few courses with the social media, with the website, and I believe with search as well. So hopefully if you're signed up for those, you'll be able to dig in specifically to what it is that you've got going on. But this is a really friendly reminder at this point in the 7 steps to take a look at your social media and make sure that everything's all updated, and that if somebody wants to click on, if they go to social media, they want to click on a website, that link is correct, and that any up-to-date posts that you have made have the brand color, have your logo, have some really great engaging imagery. Same thing with your website. If they go to the home page, make sure it's got the correct phone number and the correct address, and there's no misspellings, and that all of the colors are the same as your colors, so on and so forth. So it's just a good reminder to take a pause and make sure that everything's cleaned up before you launch your campaign. Awesome. So there are a couple of things that we showed here with, I believe that was Homeco, and I believe we did use the Elite team since Eric was in attendance. And so, you can kind of jump into Website Grader, SEO Optimer, and or their social media pages and take a peek at things. One cool thing that we've started to do recently, and we've had, sorry, we can.
Did you want me to show these? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm kind of just
flip through
based on the time. Yeah, I'm moving a little quick. But one really cool thing that we've discovered recently is these customer surveys, and we ran one for Eric and the Remax, the Elite team over there, to be able to, from their pre-existing clients, just to be able to learn a little bit more about how people are responding and what they're doing. And so during the buttoning up process, it's a really good time to run a survey if you can. And so, if you are a nonprofit and you've got a great email list, sending that email list out and say, hey, when was the last time you donated? Why did you donate? Where did you donate? Do you have any recommendations on how we can do our marketing better? Or do you have recommendations on how we can make it easier for you to share things? And we use Google Forms. So if you are in the G Suite, that's a really great way to do it, but there's all sorts of survey softwares out there. And it's amazing how much insight you can gather from pre-existing clients, pre-existing customers, friends, family, those types of things. So, we included a couple of them in there. I think what we did for Homeco is we sent one out to all the Flagstaff and one out to their team. And then it was interesting to see how certain products that the team was proud of selling are the same products that the community is anxious to buy. I think surveys are a really important way to be able to get some good feedback right before you're ready to design your campaign. Okay, so hopefully everybody, I mean, that was a little bit in the weeds, and hopefully you're attaching or attending the next few courses to be able to ask specific questions. But you should be able to run the tests on your URL, assuming you have a website, um, before the next few courses, and kind of dig in a little bit and start to learn more about some of the technical aspects. So this is the really fun part. Again, like I said earlier, everybody thinks everyone is their audience. And for this particular exercise and for marketing in general, we really want to try and drill down. So if your donors, say, are male or female, or your event attendees or your espresso customers, you probably have 60% female and 40% male, or whatever those types of things are. Those are great to know. But what we're going to try and drill down is not just the demographics, but also the psychographics of these people. So start to look at your audience in a way where it's in a block of age of maybe 10 years. So say they're 35 to 45. They're male or they're female. What kind of house do they live in? Is it a rental? Is it a high end? Is it a family neighborhood? What kind of car do they drive? Then we can start to figure out psychographically what is important to them. Are they retirees? And the grandkids are definitely extremely important to them. Where do they spend their free time? Are they 20 to 30-year-olds, and they're on or they're listening to podcasts all day every day? Or are they at the gym every day between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m.? And then also, where do they consume their media? How do they keep in touch with the outside world? Whether it is those podcasts, whether they tune into CAF radio on the way to work every day, whether or not they're on Facebook when they roll over in the morning and right before bed. Try and figure out where it is that they're consuming their media. And there's a ton of information out there on Google as you start to dial your person in. So, for some of those tour companies, it could be Chinese female who's booking these tours between 45 and 55, that drives a Volvo and, is in a walking club, those types of things. Start to paint that picture of exactly who that person is, not necessarily because you want to limit yourself to who you're going to market to, but because you want to really, really understand who your audience is going to be. So figure out what else they're buying. Are they a big fan of Nike shoes, or are they a big fan of Lexuses? What is it that they're buying right now and why? So if they are a big fan of Nike shoes, are they going to, go to the Nike Facebook page and figure out what Nike's pushing and why? What's their messaging look like? What colors are they using? What are the models holding? What are they saying? Those types of things are really important. So you can get some really great inspiration from that. And what products or services are they not buying? What really turns them off? Are they environmentalists, so they're not buying overpackaged goods? Are they elitists and they're not buying anything without a label? And try and figure that out as well. Any barriers preventing them from using your particular product or service? I think that there might be a pain point there that you can identify and you can fix or you can address in your messaging. What type of messages do they respond to? Again, if you look at what else they're doing or what else they're doing and buying, you can typically try and figure out what that person looks like. And let's see.
We have some examples on the next page here, but one of the just things I want to point out, the reason that we try to get so specific with all these details is because the power of digital marketing now. We're able to target people digitally based on their demographics, psychographics, interests, all of the things that they like and don't like and interact with on the internet. We can use all of that data to target them. So by, basing your target, your ideal audience off of your ideal customer that you already have right now, we can basically replicate that online based off of their buying habits, their interests, their likes, their dislikes, and target people just like that consumer that you already know and try to find more people just like them. And then we, use all of the data and analytics that we have to see who's engaging with those ads, who's, what's working, what's not, and adjusting and going from there. But like this little stat down here at the bottom says, the majority of people want personalized messages. Everybody expects to see when they're online searching around ads for things that they're interested in. And it's because their habits are tracked online, and then we're able to show those messages to them. So by you not putting in that time and showing the message to the right people, you're spending unnecessary parts of your marketing budget on personas and potential buyers who aren't actually potential buyers, and increasing your cost per conversion. So the more specific we can get with it, the more effective we're going to be, and the more conversions and leads we're going to get out of it. So we do have a few examples of what some of these look like here. Actually, let me jump out of here real quick, and we'll steal over here. I'm in the wrong slide here. So Rand, you want to speak to this one? Oh, are you muted? Am I muted?
I am muted. That was my bad. So yeah, this is for a capital company out of Connecticut who gives small loans to small business owners. And so we identified restaurants as one of the vertical targets for them. And in doing research for the geographic area that we were going to go after, we identified specific restaurant owners and then the demographics within that. And so I believe this was based in Miami. I don't know if we got that specific on here, but that was the region we were targeting. And so Bill, the bistro owner, he's on Facebook a lot, number one, to promote his restaurant, but number two, to be able to keep his finger on the pulse of the community. That's why he started the restaurant. He loves his community. Reputation, business directories are extremely important to him. Miami's a tourist destination, TripAdvisor, everyone's going on there to see where to eat. That's where he's on all the time. So that's where we want to be. Entrepreneur podcast, he's a startup. He's trying to figure out how to pay the bills and hire and fire correctly and all those things. And then, we identified that based off of his revenue, he has a certain expectation in life, and those expectations are, or how he should be living life is, he gets tips like that from those two publications. And then the brands that he likes, again, are high-end and also focused around him being a restaurateur. And so as we start to identify those specific things, especially in the bottom with the important factors, we start to look at who they are and why they trust and who they trust. And so as you start to understand those things about this particular one audience person that you're identifying right now, we start to really get to know them.
Didn't mean to do that.
Yep. So yeah, and and like we said at the beginning, you can identify one right now, and we'll focus on that. But typically when if you scroll down a little bit in that presentation, maybe to slide 28, you can see that we create a multitude of personas. And each one has its own messaging and its own channels that we deliver them the message to. And so hopefully if you can identify the one today and figure out this really cool formula on how to really get to know them, then you can duplicate that over and over and over again. And this is a good example. Obviously this is a huge hardware store, and they've been in town for 120 years or something like that. And so their demographic or their personas, there's a lot of them. Yeah. So again, we're just focusing on one today though.
Exactly. And that's how we do most of our campaigns, even, is that most of our campaigns are targeted towards one, maybe two or three personas. But even though we've created 10 or 12 or however many here for this client, our campaigns are very targeted to a very select few of those personas at a time, again, to make sure that that messaging is targeted, clear, and personalized towards those audiences. All right. Well, we can throw that poll up there, and while everybody's working on their personas and doing that, we did have one question from Eric that was actually kind of related to the last step we were going over about some tips for best questions from a survey.
There's a link.
What's that?
You can click on that link as well if you want to show him. I don't know if we can go back a few slides.
To the actual survey?
Yes, the customer survey, I think for that one right there would be awesome.
But so, yeah, I think this is great to show these examples. But again, I think that, we want to get some general information like this, figuring out who they are so we can, gather what type of demographic is giving us these answers so we can start to, again, better identify those personas. But then really, it's hard to answer what the best questions are for a survey because they're very industry and business specific. They're very related to what do you guys want to know from your customers? What are your goals for your marketing? Do you want more referrals? Do you want more sales? Do you want, what are those things that we're looking for? And then we try to ask those leading questions to get those answers out of those people. So there's our answers. Looks like the majority of people have a persona.
That's great. That's really great. Yeah, and Austin, do you mind scrolling down a little bit more on this one or running through this one? Eric, to answer your question, and I feel like this is really good for everyone, especially I think the nonprofits and I don't know, the tour companies, I'm sure you guys have your letters that people fill out when they're done. But I think that it's important for us to point out, I don't want to get too far into the marketing theory of things, but your goal isn't always going to be sales or revenue based. Eventually you're going to, like this one right here, one of the goals that we have for HomeCo is, we have a tagline and a branding goal for them is that we've identified their personas, we've identified the messaging, and people think that HomeCo is the friendliest place in town. They've got the popcorn and the cookies and sales associates everywhere. But why we want to brand them as that is because, there are factors as to why people use Amazon and why they don't, and why people go to Home Depot and why they don't. And so, in branding like this, our strategy is to combat the two largest competitors for them. And at the same time, instilling pride in their team and those types of things. So the goal isn't necessarily always, sell 100 tickets to another event. But the goal could be, branding yourself as an expert in a specific industry. Perfect, Ben. Ben, this is great. I think that your target for the travel government as a subcontractor is what we refer to as B2B. And so, that's always a difficult one for us to identify when it comes to, I believe it was the campaign plan that we had for Rose Capital, but yeah, trying to get to those people with different ideas. And we're about to get into the channels section, but we had a client that came to us that, the easiest way for them, they had this big budget that they wanted to spend and all of these things they wanted to do. And the easiest way for us to get from their business to another business in Flagstaff was to just print out some really cool marketing material. And since there's only 40 potential people for them to visit, to drive around town and deliver those. You don't always have to build a huge Facebook strategy and have a crazy website. Sometimes if you have a really compelling, sales deck that you can hold in your hand when you're doing B2B like that and relationships, for like trying to approach the travel government and specific people, sometimes you don't want to use the internet. Sometimes you want to use the old, shaking hands or socially distanced shaking hands and giving them some really important sales information. Awesome. the one thing, Ben, I would, as far as the tribal government goes, identify one person within the tribal government and focus your persona based off of that one person, not necessarily a type of person or a profession. Awesome. Okay, so hopefully now we know what your goal is, what your assets are, who the team is that you're going to build with, who it is that you're going after in your marketing, and now we need to figure out who it is that you are. This is often a step that people skip, and this we think is extremely important. Just as important as your business plan is to make sure that you have your mission, vision, and core values. When you hear someone refer to brand consistency, it's not necessarily always the colors and fonts. Sometimes it's also the tone in which a message is conveyed. And so when somebody is writing a social media post, for instance, we have one client, Flagstaff Mall. Their main goal is just to make the mall a really cool place. So when you think about that, that's how we want to have the specific tone in our messaging. And that's totally different than something that would be more sales oriented or more serious, or, if we had the same messaging and tone for an attorney client, who wants to be trustworthy and the thought leader and those types of things, it wouldn't be consistent. And oftentimes when people have more than one person running their social media or more than one person writing a blog, you'll see some brand inconsistency based off of that messaging, because they've yet to identify their mission, vision, and core values. And so by identifying these three things or multiple things, it's extremely important for you to feel really confident about your mission and vision, which we have the definitions in the workbook for you. So that, if you identify 5 people to run your social media, or if you're a nonprofit and you have different board members doing different things, they can refer back to the mission, vision, and core values every time they make a social media post, every time they write a blog, every time they create a poster. It's all going to be focused on these core aspects. And we'll show you an example here in a second, but colors, fonts, logos, types of photography, lifestyle photography, extremely important to stay consistent, but you can't stay consistent with those and or the messaging, cadence, tone without first identifying your mission, vision, and core values. Awesome. So, sorry.
Do you want me to open these up? Which ones do you want me to pull up?
I think that Owen House would be great. And it should be linked to the page in the slide. Oh, maybe not.
Yep, there it is.
Awesome. So very simple for them. Obviously, they're an ACE franchise, so they're the helpful place in Bozeman. And, it's important to kind of flesh these things out, sit with your employees or sit with some other people that really get you, and, try and figure out, what does a really great mission or vision statement look like? Why is it that we do what we do, and what is like the never-ending goal that you want to accomplish? So that's really important. The next slide is the mission statement, and trying to figure out what the how is. So I think the vision statement is really focused on you if you are the owner or the founder of your business, where the mission statement is now focused on your employees, team, board, those types of people, your coworkers, and how they're going to execute that vision, how they're going to bring it to life. And then the slide that we refer to most when we are making any sort of ad, any sort of campaign is this one. And so you really want to identify those key guiding principles, those words that just resonate with you as to who you are as a person, as to why you started this business or why you have the job that you have, what resonates most with you. and stay focused on those keywords so that every time you make a social media post, you should have these keywords in the back of your mind, or even sometimes we'll print these out and put them next to the screen. But make sure that that's how you can maintain brand consistency, is really being focused on keeping these guiding principles in everything that you do. Radio ad, social media post, homepage of the website should all make you, when you see all of those things, the public sees those things, they should make them feel these particular emotions. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's probably good for mission, vision, guiding principles. And then, you know, for brand consistency, the actual brand consistency, I think Austin, the design side, can cover this stuff.
Speak to this a little bit, absolutely. So just even on this slide here, you guys can see a really good example from, again, one of our local clients here, Blocklight, of their website here, and all of the different platforms on mobile, tablet, desktop, their logos, different icons, even their building, how all that branding is consistent the whole way through. We helped them build a brand kit as well, very similar to the one here that I'll show you for Late for the Train. You know, this is the brand guidelines. This is the brand Bible that everybody who posts anything, whether it's you or a third party or anybody, should be following. There are rules for logo usage, all your colors, fonts, everything like that in here. So all of the fonts. And we also provide, you know, when we build these out, we provide all the fonts to download, all the colors, all the different versions of the logos. So RGB, web colors, CMYK, so no matter if you're printing, digital, or website, you have all the right colors all the time. It's so important. Then all of the different versions of the logo and what they are for, what they're used for. Late for the Train has very specific uses for all of the different versions of the logo that they have with their icons. We created specific social media logos because their main logo is a horizontal logo, which does not look good or translate well to a square image like a social media profile. So we had to create some custom images for that. And then the logo usage is super important as well, to make sure that people are not using your logo in ways that you don't approve of, and that the brand is always up to your standards. So it goes, you know, into obviously the logos, the color, the fonts. A lot of these go into photo usages as well. What kind of stock imagery you can use, imagery to describe the brand, videography. Any way that your brand is represented, it should be documented so that there is no confusion about which way it is used. You know, everybody recognizes the most recognizable brands in the world, the McDonald's, the Nikes, you know, everything. You see those, you know, those golden arches from miles away, you know, the Starbucks sign, and you know exactly what it is. And it's because that brand is consistent. No matter where you see it, when you see it, it is always the same. And it's the best way to build brand consistency, whether it's a local business, a national business. It doesn't matter. The consistency is vital across all platforms and everywhere it's being used, whether it's print or digital or anything like that. So, so this is one of the really built out ones. It's building community a little smaller. Can't remember what this one looked like, sorry. So this one is a little bit more of a basic brand kit than our full. This one, like I said, obviously includes all the usage guidelines and everything like that. This is a little bit more of a basic brand kit where it's just logos, fonts, and colors. So you can see, again, primary logos with and without taglines, secondary logos, icons, and fonts and colors as well. So there's different ways to do them, and you know, every brand is different in what their guidelines look like because every brand has different standards. But it's just so important that those things are defined. So
awesome. And you know, we kind of talked about Flag Mall as the tone. Anybody can jump on that social media if you want to, but it's definitely fun and playful and trying to be as cool and hip with the tone as possible.
My internet's a little slow today, so
Yeah, I think we're gonna.
I'm on here. Yeah.
We're a little bit behind on time, but
Yeah.
doing good.
All right. So you ready to move on to number 6?
Please,
All right.
everybody's good to go with branding. I think if you do not have a mission statement, trying to come up with it in less than 4 weeks, I can only imagine. So hopefully you've got something in there, but it's extremely important part of the equation, and it's a step that you're going to revisit each time you do one of these. But hopefully, you'll get it pretty dialed in after the first few. Okay, choosing your channels. This is the $1 million question. You've got your persona, you've got the goal, you've got your branding, you've got your assets all dialed in, your team built. And so how are you going to reach these people? And how do I get the word out is basically the question we hear most. And so it's important for you to identify the persona enough where you understand where it is they're going to be, what it is they're doing, and what it is they're feeling, and what it is they're eating or drinking, or if they're walking, if they're driving, when they get your particular ad. And so if it's a nonprofit and your personas are 70 to 85 years old, they're probably not going to be on Facebook. They might be for grandbabies, but most likely they are going to be checking their email. And how often do they check their email? Most likely on a weekday, not a weekend. When they actually are able to hang out with family and everyone else because they're retired. It's a weekday thing. And they're early risers. So, sending an email blast out between 7 and 9 a.m. on a Tuesday or a Thursday might be the best channel for you to be able to reach your audience. Where, Maria, if you're trying to get a whole bunch of people to come out to a super hip film festival, and you've identified your target audience as 35 to 45, maybe they're on Facebook at 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning, and maybe that's the best time for you to be able to run ads, and maybe that's the best channel for you to be able to approach them as Facebook. So there's a lot of different ways to figure out which demographics are on which platform or which channel. And so a simple Google search would be great, but for right now, for purpose of time, if you can identify what you think is best for them, where you think that your target audience is spending their time to consume media, just choose one channel. And for the purpose of this exercise, it should work well. Yeah, I don't know if we necessarily need to go through these. I mean, we can just speak to these real quick. Obviously, Ace Hardware, we've got a fairly big social presence. And, if we're selling backyard stuff and we're looking at moms 28 to 40, we're probably going to be on Instagram and having a lot less messaging. Service industry, this is executive coach for CEOs. And, he's trying to get the word out to CEOs. And so LinkedIn is going to be the best channel for him. And then, we built a strategy for the awesome people at the sustainability office in Flag. And they're trying to reach the masses, but they're trying to reach a few very specific allies that they have in town. And so we identified Facebook as a good strategy for them. But then also, one step further for those people, those advocates in town, was creating a group that they would send emails out to, and then having that group be able to share the information in a different way. I think public information is a whole nother ball game. Okay, so perfect timing. I just want to make sure that we've got a few minutes left over at the end to be able to answer any questions. If anyone has any questions as far as a channel goes, but you've got your audience, if you want to throw them in there now, we can try and get back to you. Awesome. We're making progress. More yeses,
Love it.
same amount of yeses, less no's. Awesome. Okay, so the last step. And if you're following along in the workbook, you have now selected your product or service, very specific, special, promotion, whatever that is. And you've got that goal in mind. I'm going to sell 10 of these or reach 5 new, get 5 more phone calls from these type of people. So now you can come up with some campaign concepts and start to brainstorm a little bit here. And what we typically do is once we have our persona identified, we find a picture of somebody who looks just like that person. And we print it out and we put it next to the computer. And just like you were sitting down to have dinner with someone, start to picture how it is that you're going to reach that person just based off of sitting face to face with them. And what conversations would you have with that person? You know, would you just jump in and say, you should buy these tickets, this is an amazing place? Or would you engage in a conversation about, you know, here's the top 10 best places to go in the Southwest, or here's the top 10 independent movies or films of 2020, or, you know, what would you talk to them about? And that's how you start to build your campaign out. And your campaign could be a series of emails. It could be a series of Facebook posts. It could be a series of Instagram ads. But this is where it gets, you know, a little bit tricky, because you're going to have to launch or send one email out, and say you email it through MailChimp. You'll see how many people open it, where they go, and what they click on, whether or not they click on the donate button, or if they're only clicking on to watch a video that you've made. And then you can start to say, okay, well, for my next email, they clicked on this button, but then they didn't click on the donate button. Why? Can I move that button up a little bit? Can I change the color? Can I put a new image next to it? Same thing to do with Facebook. You know, you put a Facebook post out there and it reaches 200 people, but you've only got, you know, 4 likes. What is it that you can change about that? And a cool place, I mean, if you've been in business for a little while, or if you've just assumed a position where you have historical data, look in the past and see, you know, what was the most popular Facebook post we've had in the last 3 years? Why? You know, what did the audience react to, and what did they do? And so, you know, this is a really cool spot, and this is where we could get into the weeds really quick, but we've given you a little bit of room on the workbook to brainstorm out some campaign ideas and try and flesh those things out. But yeah, this is where the fun stuff starts, because you know exactly who you're talking to, how you're going to talk to them, you know who you are, you know how much money you can spend, you know which channel you're going to reach them on, and you know what the goal is, what you want them to do. So here's where you get really creative. Awesome. I think that, yes, we did want to show a report real quick, and so that you can understand the analytics. We think it's extremely important, you know, for you to have the goal of increasing, you know, to $10,000 a month in donations. But once you have that goal, you've got to figure out what marketing that you're doing that's working or not working. So we can show you a report for one of our clients. You know, we keep going back to this Ace Hardware client because they've got a really robust program. But you know, here are their 2020 goals, and we can choose any one of those. But what we're trying to do is identify those particular goals and then translate those into the analytics that you're about to see. And I think maybe just probably Facebook, Austin, would be a good channel that everybody is familiar with.
Yeah, I think this KPIs is a good slide just to see too, because again, so these are all of our overall goals for the year, the major goals that we're trying to do for our annual plan. And these are our key performance indicators, those leading numbers that we look at to see how we're going on our major goals, because we aren't going to be able to, you know how this goal is until later in the year, because this is based on the customer survey and we don't send that out every month. But we can know if reach is improving, if positive reviews are improving, if all those things are improving, that we're seeing things trend the right direction. And then, like you said, then we break it down into all the individual services that we do. And I have to find social media down here somewhere. So here we go on Facebook ads. And we break it down into what we did last month, what we saw during during our time of reviewing and analyzing during the last month. We saw that, this engagement ad that we ran, which was, just has a goal of engagement. So to get likes and comments, brought in 108 page likes and 15,000 impressions. So a really successful ad campaign there. And then what we're doing next month, we're talking about how we're adjusting based off what we've seen this month. And then it goes in and shows all of the ads. So you can see, obviously, the spikes are when we're running big ads, and which ads perform the best, some of the overall numbers, and then again, breaking it down by ad there.
And if you attend the social media course, you'll be able to see a little bit more into the back end of where we've gotten these numbers. And it's really fun to play with if you're into data. And more importantly, it's the perfect place for you to say, this post did well, and this is why. This post didn't do well, and this is why. And, marketing is always a long game. It's never ending. It evolves. And so, in your first month, if you put out 10 Facebook ads, figure out which one is first and do more of those. Figure out which one's last, and don't do those anymore. It's fairly intuitive at that point, but it's a cool way to be able to get to those things.
Yeah, like you said, that's, it's a really important thing when you start running ads to give them a chance to run. As we said down here, no goals or plans go exactly as you draw them up ever. The most experience in the world, you never can guess exactly what the users are going to do on the internet or with advertising or anything. So the best thing that you can do is get your ads out there, look at the data as much as you possibly can, and learn from it and adjust. It's the best way to keep optimizing, to get the best cost per click, to get the most effective marketing, is just to learn from the data. We do A/B tests all the time, comparing different messages or different graphics, different calls to actions, always trying to find the best and new ways to engage audiences, because trends change. The competitors are watching what you're doing and all of those things. So there's always somebody trying to come and get you. Once you start doing good at marketing, somebody's going to see it. So you always have to be adjusting and paying attention and pivoting. So
that's a good point too. If you have competitors that are slightly larger than you, I forget, Maria, you've got the film festival. If you look at the Sedona Film Festival and figure out which channels they're on, then it's a really good way to see what somebody with a huge budget, where they're spending their money, and it might be able to save you time and money. Some of the consultants out there that might be going B2B, looking at some other people that are in your industry that are experts and figuring out, man, are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Are they on, where are they getting their people? Look at their website and figure out where their traffic's coming from. Is a good way to identify that channel, because they've probably been doing this for 5, 10, 20 years, and they probably are spending hundreds of $1,000s a month. And they probably have somebody like us that is whittling down what's working and what's not working. So it's a cool place to go. So that is the sprint as far as how to build a marketing strategy in 90, 100 and so minutes.
Whatever, 105. Yeah. Lots of stuff.
Thanks, Kelly.
One thing I was going to say too, we mentioned a few of those other tools like GT Metrics and SEO Optimer, and some of those tools where you can go and grade your website. That's a really good thing, that if you're interested, like if Google ranking is one of your goals, you want to improve and get to the top of the rankings, and you're not sure why your competitor is ranked higher than you, run their website through there. It's a free tool. You can run any website through there. Take a look and see. Maybe they have 60 pages of content on there that are blogs that are, really helping them rank, and you only have 4 pages. So, you can definitely get a lot of good insight in there. Like you said, from just doing the research into your competitors, you can get a lot of great information.
Good point. Awesome.
Some confidence. I love it. Could we ask another question? Who's coming back to the next class for the website? Megan, throw up one more question for us.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Well, and it's perfect because I did want to toss in a plug that if anybody has not signed up for one of the next 3 sessions, that the registration link is still available to do that. So, but yes, I will toss that together right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you know, like Rand said, this was definitely a sprint. We threw a lot of information at you really, really quick. But these next few classes, we really will dig into each of these areas, the website, the social media, and the SEO, and give lots and lots more detail about how to do that, what the best practices look like, you know, and really try and set you up for success in those channels. So it's definitely, you know, we definitely encourage you guys to come back and take advantage of them. We'll have different speakers for some of the classes. We'll have all of our experts in those areas come and speak to you guys about social media and different things. So it should be a lot of fun and keep it interesting for you guys. And we're really excited to keep doing this. It's been fun so far.
Awesome. Yeah, and a big shout out before we bounce. Just thank you again to Corey and SEDI for supporting this Dollar for Dreams through the Sustainable Economic Development Initiative, in case anyone is looking for that grant and or loan funding, small business. Gina, SBDC, she's definitely a huge resource if you're trying to work through either your marketing plan or your business plan. Kay and Megan from CCC for inviting us and having us putting us with the constraints of 90 minutes has hopefully given you guys a good amount of information to be able to learn without really boring you to death or bogging your day down too much. Yeah, and then a big shout out to Austin Sylvia, who put this whole thing together, one of our project managers, and the whole Mojo team that helped to build this presentation and get us here. Just wanted to say thank you real quick. I feel like, you know, we've got just a few minutes left, but we can, if anyone had a snag on anything, or if we went through something too quick and you'd like to get a better understanding on one of the steps, we've got a few minutes here that we can open it up for some Q&A.
And real quick, I'm going to go ahead and launch this this poll.
Thank you.
So this one is multiple choice. So if you're attending one or more of the upcoming sessions, you can mark that off on there. And then, yeah, you can either say, maybe you haven't registered yet, so you're gonna.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan.
Ooh, this is fun to watch.
Awesome. Well, yeah. See if there's any last questions. We can take questions on anything. If nobody's got questions, you know, we can open it up to whatever you guys got. So I just stop sharing my screen here. Oops, coming back. Oh, is there a Q&A there? Awesome. Looks like we got quite a good majority of people coming back for all the classes.
Yeah, when I was looking at our list, we probably have 3 unique folks. I think just about everybody in this webinar is signed up for 2 or more sessions. So that's great.
Awesome. Maria just had a question there, and I'm not actually sure if we did talk about that or not. But heat mapping is a tool that you can install on your website that basically gives you a heat map, just like a thermal image of your website and basically what people are doing on your website. So it'll track mouse movements, it'll track clicks, it'll track all sorts of different things. Let me see if I can pull up a screenshot here real quick of one. to show you, but basically what it does is it tracks the user's movements on your website so that you can better understand how they're interacting with your website, and if they're finding, you know, all those the call to action buttons you want, if they're interacting with the things that you want them to on your website.
So, Maria, for events and also for nonprofits, for you know, we either call it the buyer's journey or the donor's journey. Heat mapping is crucial for your website, and there's some fairly inexpensive ones out there. But basically, what you do is, or what you could do, is you'll build 2 different checkout pages for your event, and or 2 different, you know, event pages or home pages for your website, and you'll run them both at the same time. But what you'll do is you'll move the buttons around. So you'll have the buy tickets button maybe 5 times on one homepage, and then you can build another homepage and have people landing on that homepage, and you'll have 2 buy tickets buttons, or, you know, whatever that is. Or you'll have an image of people watching a movie versus an image of the filmmaker, and see which homepage does better. And then you'll be able to figure out, okay, well, they're, you know, we should go with this imaging and this messaging, and we're going to sell 4 times as many tickets, or, you know, we'll get 4 times as many people to click on the ticket buying. The other aspect of that is a donor's journey. And so you can see where people are going with their mouse, if you look at any of these, and you can see where they stop and where they get frustrated, or, and, you know, they can't find what they're looking for because they're hovering too long. And you'll be able to put whatever it is that they're looking for in that place. And so for a donor's journey, you know, you really want to tell the story of whatever it is that they're donating to, but with them as the star in that story. And a really good way to do that is to have really large hero images of whatever it is that they're supporting, so that they can picture themselves within the story. But then also, you know, the heat mapping will let you know where they're going and how long they're staying on it. So if it's a story of what you do and it's, you know, 600 words versus a video of what you do, and, you know, 85% of the people are clicking on the video, maybe minimize the story or move the story to another page and just go with the video. And so the heat mapping will give you some really cool insight.
Definitely. More questions there?
Ben, that's a really good, Maria, hopefully that helps. Gina, hopefully I will see you soon. I could use a Gina hug. Ben, that's a great question. You know, when you're sharing your knowledge, and I think that it's probably best if you look up thought leadership marketing, because that'll give you a really cool list of tips. But trying to position yourself where you are that thought leader and people are coming, it sounds like people are already coming to you for your knowledge, is a really powerful place to be in marketing, because you're not going to have to spend as much, or you have the option not to spend as much as most people. I would say that you shouldn't necessarily stop sharing that information and the knowledge with people, but you should steer them in certain places and in a certain direction where they can get that knowledge from you, where you're benefiting from it. And so, you know, if you have a 30-minute talk on something that is amazing because you're a consultant and an expert on it, sharing 15 seconds of that in a video on social media to give them a little bit of a teaser, but then pushing them to click on it to go to the website to watch the rest of the video. But before they get to watch that video, they have to give you their email address. And then by them signing up with your email address, now you can send them a newsletter. And as you send them the newsletter, hopefully those people are now converting into new customers. And so, yeah, it's a really cool position that you're in right now. And at the same time, it's, you know, it's a difficult place to navigate depending on what you want, what your goal is. Goals are, I'm sure you've got a bunch of them. Awesome.
Anything else out there?
Last questions, last chance. Last chance until Thursday.
Yeah. And yeah, so everybody knows we've got other sessions coming up. They're going to be awesome. I think Austin, you're making your return appearance on Thursday for the website session, right?
Yeah.
So you'll get to see his happy shining face. So I'll make sure I'll send out a final reminder email to everybody, or a follow-up email rather, to everybody who attended this session with the link. Because we do ask that you register, even if you already registered for this one, because then this helps the Mojo team know who they're working with, what you want to learn, all that good stuff. So I'll send out an email, and otherwise, I hope everyone has a fabulous day. Austin and Rand, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Thanks
you
everybody
so
for coming
much.
out.
Have a great day, everybody.
Take care.
Nice. See you on Thursday.